Good morning and welcome to the morning break. It is Wednesday, and the co-hostess. That makes me think of like co-hostess makes me think of like one of those cupcakes or something.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, we better not call
Ding
you
dongs.
Good morning, Vivian. Vivian likes to remind me, and just for those of you that don't know, because we're live on the East Coast. It is just about 10:30, just a little after 10:30. She reminds me, though, that the sacrifice to be my co-host during these shows means she has to get up extra early because it is only 7:30 where she lives. So we appreciate your sacrifice.
You are very welcome. I told Rob this morning, I said, you got to give me time to depuff. I wake up, I'm puffy. So hopefully,
so how do you depuff? Okay, I'm going to ask the question because I'm a guy and we don't depuff.
I have a ritual. So I get up. I mean,
is that like that roller thing that I see on
it absolutely is the roller thing. It's one of those cold roller things. And I've got my little, my lotions, and I just roll my face out.
It's like rolling it with like a bread pin, like a pin for baking. Okay.
For your face. Yeah.
Is that usually like stone, or what is that thing?
It is actually. It's like this little cold stone, and you roll it around your eyeballs and your neck and your face, and it just kind of helps drain everything. And it's a ritual. So yes.
So have you tried one of those shaker things? This is completely off topic. We haven't talked about this at all. But do you have one of those shakers?
Yeah, actually I do. Yeah, I stand on it. I do have some lymphedema in my leg because I had cancer. But that's one of the things that my oncologist told me to do is stand on that shaker thingy, and it just kind of moves everything around, and it really does help.
I have to tell you, Kristen got one, and I was like, okay, honey, whatever they're not that expensive. I think it was like a couple $100.
Yeah.
And got one of those, and so I tried it. Now I'm hooked. And usually what I'm doing is I'm singing while I'm doing it, because I just like the whole, it goes.
Yeah. They say if you do that for a certain amount of time, that it's almost like jogging. So there you go.
That's what they say. But of course, yesterday I had an experience with donuts. So I didn't get to jog because bad weather here in Ohio. If you saw, a lot of tornadoes, a lot of stuff going on. So there was not that I would have jogged anyway, but the bad weather was a great excuse to stay inside, eat donuts, and do work. And that was pretty much what I did. But today is National Vinyl Day, Vivian. And I hate to say it, but we are old enough to remember vinyl being actually sold in they had record stores. They don't even have those anymore.
No, like at antique stores, you'll find them. But my grandpa used to own or work at a pawn shop. And my dad got me a record player one year for Christmas, and I got some vinyls with that. And, because it was a pawn shop, and because my dad was older, the records that I got to listen to when I was 8 and 9 years old were the Beatles. And I used to play the Beatles song, I Want to Hold Your Hand, all the time. And that's what I played. That was my first vinyl record.
See, so my mom and dad were big into music. My dad was a professional violinist, and my mom was a professional singer. So I grew up with like a spectrum of music in my house. And my favorite when I was little, which was on a record, was Herbie Albert and the Tijuana Brass. And they were here, and I was so excited that they were going to be here because like Herbie's got to be like in his 80s. And I was so excited they were going to be here in Toledo. And unfortunately, I had to be out of town working with a client, and I missed it. But as a little kid, my mom would put this, and of course, my parents were very, very much into really high quality sound stuff because of their professions. And so I remember like dancing around the house as a little kid, listening to Herbie Albert and the Tijuana Brass. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There is your vinyl of the day. It's also Middle Child Day. So if you're a middle child, congratulations. Today's your day. And do you know what they found out about middle children, Vivian?
Don't. Tell me.
They're the peacemaker in the family. Makes a lot of sense.
It does.
My wife is a middle child, and she learned, and they say they're negotiators, which of course goes great with her field, being an attorney. That works out great for her. So those are it. So go out, celebrate, get some vinyl. Vinyl's coming back in now. Like
Yeah.
everybody, if you're really hip, if you're really cool, you have vinyl.
That's
And
right.
I will tell you, and this is just me, and I know it's probably all in my mind, but when you listen to vinyl, it's richer sounding. It has a better,
Mhm.
like, it has a vibe to it.
Bring it back. Bring
Yes.
it back.
That's it. Get and if you do, buy a Herbie Albert and the Tijuana Brass album. You will thank me later. Hey, listen, we got a great guest today. Tell us who we've got.
Yeah, we have Jenna Schutt today, and I've been listening to some of her other podcasts that she's been on. She has an amazing story, and I'm going to let her tell it. But she's also got a book out, and she's going to talk about that. But she is was a cardiac RN nurse, and she had her own health scare, and she's going to tell us all about that and how faith got her through it.
That's awesome. Hey, listen, I wonder if she likes coffee because we need to talk about it.
Yeah,
It's
we
that time
do.
of day. We want to thank the great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee.
Got my coffee.
7weekscoffee.com. There's Vivian. She's got hers. I love the color of that mug, by the way. That is like one
Thank
of my
you.
favorite colors.
Green.
I love
I'm
green.
starting to like green.
Anyway, 7weekscoffee.com. Use the promo code ATV10 when you order. Listen, I've talked a lot about it. There's nothing that beats small roast, small batch coffee. Check out the great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee. That's 7weekscoffee.com. We will be back right after this.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy. A life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
Thanks to great folks, 7 Weeks Coffee. That's 7weekscoffee.com. Use the promo code ATV10 and snag some breakfast blend. There, it's on special. Go to the website. They let me say that today. Normally they don't because they know that I'm going to let like all kinds of stuff out of the bag, and they want you to out of the bag get it. Coffee. That was pretty clever.
I love it.
Okay, time for our guest. We're super excited about this. This is going to be a great show. A lot of impact. Jenna, it is good to have you here. First and key question, Jenna, of the day. Do you like coffee?
I do love coffee. I actually love a little bit of coffee with my creamer, but I do like coffee.
Me too. Me too. French vanilla is my thing. I love
That's
it.
what I have today, French vanilla, but I like flavored coffees too. So
Okay. She's one of us, Rob.
She is. Actually, last night my wife ordered me a brand new cold brew maker. So I will be making my own cold brew at home.
it sounds
Okay.
And I'm excited about it because it's like got this funnel in the middle, and you put your own. See, I'm really a snob. Like I get whole beans and then I do all of that process myself. I like that. I like it. It makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something. And so you know, so we're going to test this out. I will talk about it on the air, I'm sure, because it's what I do. But we are so excited you're here today with us. Man, this is going to be an amazing show. I talked about it on social media. I think this is an impact show, and we are glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I spent some time over this past week going through your website and looking at some of the interviews that you've done, and you have inspired me so much. And I too am a cancer survivor, not to the extent that you're going to share with us today, but so I've been in those places when you get the call. I've been in those places where you're sitting by yourself at night and the thoughts start to invade and you start having all the negativity and things. So I can relate to that. But your story is so phenomenal because of how you were able to channel those negative thoughts. And so before we even get into all of that, if you could just kind of give us a little bit about yourself and your story.
Yes. Well, I am a wife. I'm a mom of 2 boys. My boys are 7 and 9 now, and I homeschool them. So we have a lot of fun with that. You mentioned a little bit earlier that I am a former cardiac nurse. So I worked in the cath lab. I was the nurse that took the patient back when they were having a heart attack, and we would help the doctors to get them ready to open up that vessel again. So very used to those high intense situations. I'm also a pastor's wife, and now I'm a speaker and a writer. And I talk a lot about my story, which is 8 years ago when both my babies were still in diapers. They were so little. I was diagnosed with a very rare, incurable bone marrow disease. And throughout the last 8 years, I've walked through IV chemo. I've gone through the aggressive form twice. And then 2 years ago, I had a stem cell transplant.
Wow. I don't know much about stem cell transplants. Can you educate us a little bit about that? Like what is entailed? It sounds very graphic. I don't know.
It's not as graphic
Okay.
as you might think.
Okay.
So my brother was my donor, which was just an amazing gift that he gave. So it's a few interesting things about bone marrow transplants is that parents usually are not a good match for their children. Parents usually only have about a 1% chance of being a match, but siblings have the best chance and they still only have a 25% chance. And I only had one brother. So that was a definite prayer moment that we were praying. And so he got tested, came back, and he was a 10 out of 10 match for me. So that was definitely, we were praising the Lord for that. And then they go through several things to be able to go through the harvest, which is what they call it. So they give them some medications to increase their cells, and then they take them out, they spin it really quickly, and it separates the layers. They take what they need and they put back what they don't need into the person who is donating. And then I go in just like the day after. So it's like we're 2 ships passing in the night, and he's leaving and I'm coming. And then they give you very, very strong chemo that basically wipes you as close to 0 as you can get while still being alive. And then they infuse his cells into me. And the whole point is that they want you to be as close to nothing so that when his cells come in, they're accepted as my cells. And so the last testing that I had done, I was 100% donor cells, meaning that his cells took over. One very, very interesting thing that many people do not know is that if you have a donor who is of the opposite gender, so obviously I have my brother, he's the opposite gender of me. So I now have male chromosomes. So if you were to test me, I would have male chromosomes. I have male chromosomes now. Now that doesn't change anything hormonally or anything on that level, but it's just something little interesting tidbit that comes with that. But yeah, so then you're in the hospital for about 4 weeks, and then you have to be very close to the hospital for the 100 days after, because that's a very critical time that they're testing you and making sure that everything is going well. So I'm 2 years out now. I'm in survivorship.
Amen.
And I'm still on oral chemo because the disease was considered incurable. They're watching me very close. And I am also on some immunotherapy because I deal with graft versus host disease as well. So that's kind of a very condensed version of stem cell transplant. There's a lot that goes into it, but that is very, very small story of it.
Well, I just learned a lot. I never knew anything about that. So thank you for educating us on that.
Yes.
You know, I heard you say on another show that how you came to know that you had this disease was kind of like a spirit-led thing. And I have a very similar story to that. So I'm interested if you could briefly tell us about like how this was spirit-led, how you even came to know that you were sick.
Yes. So when I had first started having symptoms, it was all abdominal symptoms. So I was getting really sick, and I had thought it was just due to an antibiotic that I had taken for a sinus thing. So I went to my doctor assuming that this was going to be just put me on some medications to calm whatever was happening. And so they did some lab work. She assumed that it was what I was thinking, very similar. And she thought it was my gallbladder. So they sent me to an ultrasound. The ultrasound came back and they said, yes, you've got stuff going on with your gallbladder, but we found this mass on your kidney. We are going to have to take you for another scan. And to speak to what you were asking, as far as the spirit-led part, I was in church when I got that call. I was at our corporate prayer time where we have prayer with all of our members. And I was in the nursery with my kids, and I'm sure they were fighting over toys and things. And I was just trying to have an adult conversation, and the phone rang. And so I took the phone call and they told me that. And I just remember out of my spirit, just the word no came out. And it was just something inside of me. I knew this was not a gallbladder issue, but I didn't know what it was. So I went forward with the scan, and I came home after the scan, and my doctor had called and she said, this is not your gallbladder. You have enlarged lymph nodes all over. Your spleen is enlarged. Your liver is enlarged. You've got infiltrates in your bones. And very quickly changed into, you need to go see an oncologist, hematologist, and we need to start moving to see what this is and start getting it treated.
Wow. You know, for me, I had a spot on my nose that wouldn't go away. And so that's what led me. Anything that's on the middle of my face,
Yeah.
you know, vanity kicks in. And I went to a dermatologist to be like, get this off my face. And it was nothing. But then it was at that moment where he said, you know, you're in here anyways, let's do a full body scan. And that's where he found a spot on my leg that turned out to be what they staged as 3 melanoma. And that began my cancer journey. So it's those God-led, spirit-led things that, get us to the right place.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that you said something. You said no. And you've said no throughout your journey. Like, I'm not accepting this. And I wrote down a quote here. You said, joy is not denial of the hard stuff. It's not pretending everything is fine. Joy is the Lord infusing strength and endurance into places that still hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. Tell us about that.
Well, I talk a lot about what I call the joy reflex, which is just that. It is training faith, peace, and joy to become your first response instead of your last resort. So I think a lot of times when we have these really intense situations come in, these really hard things that we're going through, and maybe it's not medical. There's a lot of hard things that are not medical related at all. But a lot of times the first thing that our brain wants to do is go into panic and fear and all of the what ifs. And I know that because that happened to me when I was standing there getting this news. My 2 babies were right behind me. My husband was behind me. And all of a sudden, all of those thoughts just start pounding in of, what is this? What is happening? What is going to happen with my life? And so when you start to talk about training your brain towards seeing faith, peace, and joy as your first thing you're going to go to instead of all the fear that's trying to hit you, it's important to know that it is not this positivity, this thing that it's putting a smile on or saying, you've got this, or I'm fine, when you are just crumbling on the inside. It's really about that spiritual infusion. And in Nehemiah, it says, the joy of the Lord is my strength. And that was a verse that I stood on so much because it wasn't my strength that I was standing on. It was his. But that takes a lot of surrender on my part to be able to say, okay, God, they don't know what this is yet. I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to have to surrender this thought and these fears so that your faith, peace, and joy can start to come and start to be pulled on to be what I'm responding with instead of all these things that are trying to hit me.
Did it come?
I was sorry. I was just going to say, I think that it gets into the point where we speak the word, you know, where I'm sure you were speaking the word over yourself daily. And I think I love the joy reflex. That to me is amazing. And it's something that, because I'm a worrier by trade. My mom called me her little worrywart when I was little. And so there are times where you get that way, and really you do. You have to go, if God is for me, who can be against me? You start quoting the scriptures, you start going through that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I definitely encourage people. With the Joy Reflex, I have kind of a framework that I try to help people to start doing this for themselves, because it's the best to learn how to swim in the calm water. We don't want to learn how to swim in the choppy water when there's this huge storm brewing. Although that's where I learned to swim. That's where I learned to do these things, was in the very, very hardest of the hards for me. And so that's what I try to teach other people is, please don't be like me. Please start training yourself now, because then when the hard thing does hit, you already have those habits and that reflex formed. And so I try to always tell people to recognize what the heart is. So I think a lot of times in faith, we feel like we can't say what's wrong. We can't say what's going on. And I always love to say that faith is not a denier of reality, but it is going to show you how you're going to walk through the reality that you're in. And so recognize what that heart is. And then when you recognize it, return to what God's word says. So just what you were saying, Rob, is find those verses that are for you, that you are going to stand on, that are for your situation, and then return to those and anchor yourself there. And then you just have to take the next step. So respond with that next faithful step. And that can be different for everybody. For me, I would reach out to my faith friends. I would love to have them praying over me, praying them with me. And then I had a list of verses in my phone and with me, and I would have my husband sometime would just read those over me, because I was so weak. I could barely keep my eyes open, but I would just say, read the word, just read the word to me so I could hear it.
And there's something powerful when we say it out loud, especially if you're able to say it out loud yourself. There's something so powerful about that. That's one of the things that I failed to do when I was going through mine. I just channeled all of it inside, and God delivered me and healed me and all of that. But I just think to myself, what would it have been like if I would have declared those scriptures out loud for the devil to hear,
Yes.
and, and take away some of that fear. This Joy Reflex that you're talking about became a book. So could you tell us a little bit how that became a book, and tell us a little bit more about your book?
Yes. So my book is still in talk with publishers right now. So it's not published, but it's coming.
Okay.
But yes, the book actually I started writing it about a year after my transplant. And I really thought it was going to be this memoir about what I went through and what the Lord did for me, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But as I was writing it, I realized more that I'm teaching out of it. So I'm trying to help others. I'm trying to teach this Joy Reflex to other people. And so that's really what this book will be about, is just about, here's my story, but here's what you can do to train your own reflex. And I think that that's really my heart, is to help other people and to help others show them that this is possible for you too. This is not just something that was just for me and my heart, although I'm glad it was there. But I think, to your point too about speaking things out loud, that was something I learned in nursing school, was that if you want to retain things better, if you want to hold on to this thing that you're trying to learn, is to speak it out loud, write it down. So you're hearing yourself say it, you're speaking it, and then you're writing it. So really every sense that you have, you're hearing and getting that back. And I also love to tell people that when you're saying things, because you said you want the devil to hear it, and that's 100% true. A lot of people think that when they're saying those verses, they're trying to get God to do something. They're trying to move God. And it's like, you're not going to move God to be any more faithful, to love you anymore. He already loves you. He already is faithful. That is not something that you have to force or push or try to get him to move. But it's so important to let the devil know, this is what I'm standing on, and to let yourself know. And that's, who do you hear the most? Yourself. So let yourself hear yourself speak the word.
I love that.
Powerful.
I do. I love that, because and there are people out there. So I want to do this because I always think of this. There may be somebody, Jenna, that's going right now through what you have just gone through. Give them an encouragement, give them something to hold on to.
Yes. I think that what people can hold on to is, you can start right now. you do not have to wait until the hard is easier. You don't have to wait until you have perfect circumstances. You know, there's that song that says, just as I am.
Mhm.
And come just as you are, but don't leave as you came, right? So come as you are, start working on these things. I always talk about how do we practically do this? Because there's a lot of people who are going through their hard and they're thinking, okay, Jenna, I can't add one more thing to I just cannot add another thing on top of what I'm already doing. How am I supposed to do all of this with all of these verses and all of these things? And so what I love to say is just find the verse that speaks to you, just one. You do not have to have a whole page of verses. That would be overwhelming and that would be overstimulating to me. So pick one verse and then add it to something you're already doing. So if you are a mom that drives their kids to and from everywhere like I am, maybe every time you buckle your seatbelt, or maybe you have it on your phone and every time you open your phone to go to your social media or to call or to text, or maybe you are already a woman of the faith or a man of the faith, and so you're already praying in the morning and at night and over your meals, just add it to that. Then that's 5 times a day you're already adding it. So it doesn't have to be overwhelming, but you can start right now.
Love that. So, Jenna, before we go, tell us a little bit about how people can reach you. I know you do some speaking engagements. Where can they find out more about this upcoming book, all the things?
Yes, I have a website and it's just my name. So it's easy, jennaschutt.com. And on there, I have free resources. I have a free Joy Reflex training guide, which is a 7-day walkthrough for anyone who wants to start training right now, but they just don't know where to start. So I've done it for you. Just go grab that and start yourself. And then I do have all of my former things that I'm doing on there. So you can go there and see that. And in my About Me section, you can see the pictures of me as I went through my journey. So you can see that, yes, this really did happen. And this is me on the other side of it. But that there is some very true hards that came there. And I hope that you come and check me out and say hi. I'd love to see everyone that wants to come and learn their own Joy Reflex.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenna, for being with us. We appreciate you so very much. Wow, where'd the time go? It always goes by so fast. Want to thank the great folks at 7weekscoffee.com. That's 7weekscoffee.com. Both Vivian and I endorse their coffee. One more time. There we go. Because we got to do that. We got to get the plug for the sponsor.
Yes, we do.
Hey, it is always fun having Vivian on the show. You're going to see her more often because I've asked her, not because she wants to, but she feels guilty. And so she feels guilty. So now she's helping me out with my lostness of doing the show, but we're super excited to have her with. Man, where is the time gone? It has gone by way too fast, and we appreciate you all very much. Thanks for spending some time with us. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this has been The Morning Break.